Hey guys, so my research question is based off of serial killers. My problem was people entering the criminal justice field do not realize males are not the only ones that can be defined as a serial killer, but also a female can be defined as one as well. My research question was, how has research guided serial killers to their next victim, and what makes males and females different from one another? What I learned from my secondary sources was actually a lot of information. I learned the motives and the reasoning behind the serial killers and why they execute their murders. In my secondary sources, one of my secondary sources, Sarah Kaplan, she stated that female serial killers are gatherers and male serial killers are hunters. What she meant by this was that female serial killers already know who they're going for. They go mainly for people they already know. They go either for their husbands, their brothers, their fathers even. And male serial killers have to try a little bit harder because they don't specifically know who they're gonna go for. But they do basically go for young teenage college students. Also, females kill men. They really don't go for females, and males go for females instead of men. Another secondary source of mine stated that compared a female serial killer to a black widow, basically because a black widow kills its mate when they're no longer useful. And that is what happens with some of the females. They execute their husbands because they see no reasoning to be with them, or they do it for money or their own benefit. Also, my secondary sources stated that there's a technique called hands-on. It's an approach that serial killers use on their victims. Instead of using objects like knives, guns, they use a hands-on where they use their bare hands to strangle their victims so they can pass out and die and execute them. Also, but they specifically say that only males do that. For females, they don't really use a hands-on technique. They use medication pills or insulin to overdose their victims and get them to sleep and just execute them like that. Although my secondary sources gave me a lot of information, they were lacking a little bit of information that I wanted to find out. So what I did was I took it into my own hands and did a document analysis so I can find out the real reasoning behind the motives of the serial killers of female and male, and how many victims they really go for, and where they talk about their own experience and their own words and how they felt during their killing process. So I did a document analysis on Edmund Kepner, Katherine Knight, Ted Bundy, and Aileen Wuornos. From my document analysis, I found out that both the male serial killers, they were not that similar. They were actually quite different. I thought they'd be similar, but Ted Bundy actually used a hands-on technique, while Kepner used knives to stab and chop the heads off of his victims. Kepner did not only go for young teenagers, but he went for his own mother and her older friend. Kepner fantasized about the killings before they even happened, and Ted Bundy planned them out right then and there. Both their motives were different. One included family, while the other described it as a disease. However, they both involved sexual pleasures in their story and stated that killing had taken control over them. Like, it became more of a hobby than anything in their life. For the females, they did not use hands-on technique. They used utensils to kill their victims. Neither one went for a female. They went straight to males. Warnos actually attacked strangers because she worked as a hooker, and Catherine Knight attacked men she already knew. She actually chopped the head off of her own father. So, from my documentary analysis, my answer that I came up with for my own experiment was that males and females are not that different. They're actually very similar to each other. It just depends on the serial killer themselves and the way they want to execute their victim. Some may want to have more control and do their own hands on their victims, while others use more of a messier technique by using knives. From what I got is that female serial killers are just as evil as male figures. Both genders have no regret or remorse towards what they did. It just shows that in the world there are both male and female serial killers who are ready to attack on the innocent, and anybody can really be a serial killer, and that a serial killer is basically just like a normal person. You can't really define one. You can't really point out an obvious killer. It's just a normal person. The solution I came up with for my problem for students entering the criminal justice field was I created a game where you wear a headband on your head, and you pick a card, and it's of male and female past serial killers, and you ask questions on who is on the card, and you only have a certain amount of time to ask the questions, and after that the next person goes on. If you get the answer correct, then you get to put one chip inside. If you don't, then you have to wait your turn the next time. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out who you are, who is on your head, which killer is on your head, is you're a female or if you're a male. This solves a problem on my research because it helps students realize that who you are trying to figure out is